Well, hello everybody and welcome to another Pastor's Chat with Coley and Tonks.
That's right. Great to have you here again.
It's always something I look forward to doing.
That's great.
And watching. Do you ever watch?
I do. Well, I edit them as well, so I've seen them a lot by then.
Yeah.
But I love to see people's comments. I'd love to be able to comment more with you.
Yeah.
Some of our favourites I know that are Maxine King and Beck Waters,
Yes.
two biggest fans, and we just love when you guys watch and drop some comments. So please
thank you.
keep dropping the comments. We'd love to be able to keep engaging in the chat on the Facebook. It's definitely one of my favourite parts when people do add a comment.
For sure.
So that it becomes a two-way chat.
Yeah. Well, today we're going to be talking about something a little differently, another different topic. In our life as Christians, in our walk with Jesus, there have been people who have been very, very significant in encouraging us, discipling us. They probably helped really shape our Christian walk and for us, our calling to ministry, our ministry styles and things. So today we're just going to share, just two each, significant people that have influenced our walk with Jesus and our ministry.
That's right.
Well, you want to kick it off?
Yeah, I'll kick it off.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was thinking as a young kid, I could have said your dad. As a teenager, I could have said Tonks, and even in the 20s. But I decided to go for a couple of different people. Just keep it fresh, and people have probably never heard me talk about before. If you follow. Good. So the first guy, his name is Dave Huddleston.
Yes.
I first met Dave when I was 20, and I was starting Bible college, and we had to do part of this thing called a formation group. And you had 5 blokes that you had to catch up with every 2 months, and you did retreats together and all of that. So you got to know these people pretty well, and you shared your life story. And the formation director, I think they called them, was the one that led us through that. And I was fortunate enough to be in his group for 3 years. So you had to do 3 of them in what I was doing. So I was there for 3 years with him, and he was just awesome for my faith development, for helping me realise things like having to be aware of your emotions and stuff like that as you grew up, and just great reflection through that time. The way he had a real, one of the great things about Dave was he was a youth pastor for a little while, and he worked for a group called Youth Ministry Australia or something like that, and he just had a real passion for discipleship, and I love discipleship as well, and he helped invigorate my passion for that, and helped with just the early phases of when I was still working out faith, and you had to share everything that you'd been doing. So he was just a real good wise head that could give you good wise questions about whether you should be doing things, and just helping you grow and helping wrestle with the harder things too. And he loves football, so it worked really well because we could chat about football.
Is he about for Geelong?
He's a West Coast Eagles supporter, and
so
they've sort of had the wood on us most of the years, except for that little glory period that we had. But he's been a great just inspiration, and someone that I've always kept in contact with. I don't see him as much now as I used to during the Bible college years, but he's someone whenever I catch up with him, it's just back to that great level of conversation as well, and just someone you can always be open with, and just have that depth of conversation with those sort of people.
Well, the first person I want to share about, again, in my early years as a Christian, my church in Ballarat was seeing almost like a bit of a revival amongst the young people. Our youth pastor was very, very effective, and lots of young people were coming to know Jesus and getting baptised. So I suppose in many ways, to try to keep up with all of this, our youth pastor David started to assign one-on-one kind of discipleshippers, or whatever you want to call one-on-one supporters. And I was assigned with a guy by the name of David Westaway, who has actually been here many, many times. So that was when I was 14, and all these years later, we're still really close and very, very precious friends. David would come around to my house every week, and we'd go through a discipleship study together. In fact, it's almost the exact same kind of thing that we still do with a lot of our young people now, just going through a bit of a discipleship thing. But when we finished, it was about a 6-week thing. We said, do you want to keep doing stuff? And so we did. And we would just do all sorts of stuff together. We'd go camping together even, and he would pick me up for youth events and bring me home Sundays after church, and just became this great, not just a friend, but that person who's, I think he's 5 years older than me, David. And he modelled to me what it meant to be a young Christian man, and was a tremendous encouragement then. And he got married. I was a groomsman in his wedding.
Oh, nice.
Kyle and I and Dave and his wife Tracy, we've gone away on trips together. He came and visited us when we were in Wollongong, came and visited us when we were in Hobart. He's come and visited here many times.
A lot of people don't like coming up to Mildura.
No, but he does. Yeah. He loves getting in a car. They'll actually get in a car, this is off the track a bit, but he'll get in a car and say to his wife, where do you want to go? And I don't know. So they'll go from Ballarat to Warrnambool for a day trip just to get a hamburger for lunch. They
Wow.
love, I think it's Kerman's or something like that.
Yeah, I have
Warrnambool.
got him on Facebook after I met him. Had the pleasure of meeting him at a Denton holiday program. And he decided to do the Beechworth Bakery route. And he did every single Beechworth Bakery.
Yeah, he just does the craziest holiday things.
When I saw that, I was like, wow, that's interesting. Yeah, it's good on him.
Just a wonderful friend. And so for all these years, 30 years later, over 30 years later, to still be sharing in that friendship is a pretty rare thing.
He's an awesome bloke. I must say, some of his, what I noticed on Facebook, he's got a very specific type of humour, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He's you've probably
warped, crazy, insane.
Just that perfect dad joke style humour. I don't know what it is.
Oh, the ultimate dad joker.
Yeah, and he's I've noticed his humour's a very unique sort. Yeah. Well, my next one.
Yep.
It's another person. It's a person that I met again at the start of Bible college, and his name's Neale Meredith. And I actually met him before Bible college, and he used to be a minister here at the Mildura Church of Christ, which is, I think, why we've connected quite well over the years. And he's always been a great source of wisdom because he knows the Mildura Church of Christ, he knows people there and what it's like. So he was always a great person to chat to, and just his probably a study mentor is always what I could call him, because he was like now he's the vice principal of the Bible college that I studied at. But just every time I caught up with him, he's a real life-giving. He asks very intentional questions about how you're doing and how your marriage is going, how your relationships are going, how your faith's going. You can't have you can't have a conversation with him that's just light in a good way. He's always asking very intentional questions, which I've always loved. And he's been someone that I've probably looked up to a lot since I've met him. Heard so many amazing things from him here. But yeah, he's just someone that, again, like Dave, was a youth minister for quite a number of years and has a real passion for discipleship, funnily enough. And yeah, I just love hearing him teach. I love hearing him chat. And he's just an awesome bloke that's just helped shape that. Probably these two people I've picked deliberately, people that are after I've become a Christian, that have helped continue to shape that journey. And just making you continue to think about certain things. And they're the people I want to be like, in the sense of helping other people's faith shape and not just asking them what they had for dinner last night, but helping them with their faith journey like they have for me.
I love Neale, but I'll tell you, I've got a bone to pick with Neale.
Do you?
Are you watching Neale? I really make sure that you tell Neale and Susan. I've asked Neale to come up and share and to preach and to do some stuff at the church. And he's a very busy guy, so vice principal of ACOM and things, but he keeps on saying, I can't at the moment, and he'd be rude enough to go on long service leave rather than come and preach up here at Mildura.
He's a great preacher too.
The challenge is out there, Neale. You've got to get up here as soon as the COVID restrictions allow you to come back and preach and to share with our leadership again.
That'd be fantastic,
Yeah,
wouldn't it?
absolutely.
Love it.
The challenge is there.
That's right. Coralie can have you stay there, I'm sure. She'd love to see you, so double it up.
Well, look, one more. Another person, again, someone who's known to a few of the people around here, and that's my old senior pastor from Hobart, Clinton Wardle. Now, when you go into a church, like we left Wollongong and went down to Hobart, we didn't know anybody in Tasmania. We didn't know anybody at the church, but we did feel that very strong calling from God to be there. And so to wind up, first church out of Bible college, not knowing anybody, Coley and I, as a still fairly newlywed and all that kind of stuff, we really needed to have a strong foundation in that church. And Clinton, as the senior pastor, really ensured that he provided that. He modeled to us family first and those great disciplines of rest and putting the family first, a beautiful pastoral heart, not just for the church, but to embrace Kyle and I in that kind of thing as well. And Josh particularly, my son Josh, has a lot of great memories of going to their home, and Clinton's wife Trish would make pumpkin soup. And he still, over 20 years later, will bring up the things around how good Trish's pumpkin soup was and stuff. So they embraced our whole family as the kids were born. Just a beautiful, beautiful mentor friendship that's there.
So important.
So after 5 years of being associate pastor, youth pastor at Hobart, obviously I came up here and I've been here for 20 years. Clinton then, a few years later, he left Hobart himself and he went to Modbury Church of Christ up in the northern suburbs of Adelaide. And so when he got up to there, we were able to then connect with a few visits there. And then, I can't remember now, about 7 years ago or 5 years ago, something like that, he moved to Berry Church of Christ.
Nice and close.
Even closer. So we've been able to maintain such a great friendship and a closeness. We catch up regularly. And now, as you know, under Churches of Christ, to maintain accreditation as a minister, we have to have a spiritual supervisor. So when I was told, Andrew, you got to find a spiritual supervisor, first person I thought of was Clinton. So he's still continuing to be that mentor, encourager in my life as my spiritual supervisor to the Churches of Christ.
So we need to have these people in our lives, not just when we're young, but forever, don't we?
Yeah. And the longevity of those friendships and those relationships to help you through.
Continue to shape our faith.
That's right.
So who was it for you? We may not know the names that you put down, but we'd still love to know. Just give them a shout out, maybe send them a text and say, just thanks for what you've done in my faith journey, and let people know about it, just so they can have that encouragement. And, something we need a lot of at the moment. But please tell us who it is that you like, who it is that shaped your faith, and let them know that they've played a key part in your journey. And who is it that you can be this person for? Yeah,
that's the other side, isn't it? Not just about who is it for us, but who can I be that mentor, that encourager, that discipler? Who can I help shape their walk with Jesus in a very positive and fruitful way?
One of the key definitions of a disciple is that you make disciples as well. So we can't just be discipled, we need to make disciples. So I hope that's a great challenge to leave you with today. But thanks for joining us on another Pastor's Chat with Coley and Tonks.
Fantastic.